Welcome, and thanks for joining this beginner's guide to funds of funds, where we'll unpack how pooled investor capital flows into a FOF, which then allocates to multiple underlying funds to create diversified assets and potential returns. The central diagram shows investor capital moving through a fund of funds into different asset types, helping spread risk and pursue varied returns. When investors commit capital to a fund of funds, the general partner acts as the active manager, conducting due diligence, committing capital to chosen managers, and monitoring ongoing performance. The slide's layered portfolio graphic highlights how the GP builds exposure across managers, strategies, vintages, and geographies, intentionally spreading risk rather than concentrating bets in any single manager or fund. This slide illustrates how a single commitment to a fund of funds can buy exposure across sectors, regions, and investment styles while spanning multiple vintage years, smoothing volatility and lowering single manager risk. The visual emphasizes that one allocation can translate into exposure to hundreds of underlying companies, offering diversification that helps stabilize returns across market cycles and strategies. The fund of funds advantage lies in access and expertise. By aggregating capital, FOFs can enter top quartile funds with high minimums and provide individual investors with professional manager selection, ongoing monitoring, and portfolio rebalancing. The graphic shows both the gatekeeping role and a circular process of active oversight, underscoring the value add for investors who lack the resources to run this process themselves. Understand that costs come in two layers: FO, F-level fees, and underlying fund fees, which together determine total investor costs. The diagram shows typical fee examples and a scale weighing cost versus value. Investors must balance these layered fees against the diversification, manager access, and potential outperformance a well-constructed fund of funds can provide. Key considerations include blind pool uncertainty, meaning capital is committed before exact underlying funds are known, which creates composition risk, long lockup periods, and limited secondary market options that reduce liquidity, and the importance of manager trust plus thorough liquidity planning. The slide stresses that capital commitment, illiquidity, and trust are paramount when evaluating a FOF opportunity. When comparing direct funds to funds of funds, direct investments often have lower fees and a more concentrated upside, while FOFs offer diversification, professional manager selection, and lower entry minimums. The right choice hinges on your desired involvement, risk tolerance, sensitivity to fees, and liquidity needs. So align the structure with your optimal investment strategy, rather than picking one option by default. Evaluating a fund of funds requires clear operational and strategic due diligence. Analyze total expense ratios, GP track record, liquidity terms and alignment of interests, and also assess target vintage spread, transparency on underlying fund types, and diversification match with your goals. The visual connects these operational checks to strategic fit, reminding investors that comprehensive evaluation leads to better selection decisions. Finally, weigh benefits, drawbacks, and concrete actions. Funds of funds simplify multi-manager exposure and provide access to elite strategies, but they bring higher layered fees and longer lockups. The recommended actions are to perform thorough due diligence on costs, evaluate fund structure carefully, and assess manager quality to decide whether a FOF fits your portfolio and investment objectives.